Hit record.
Woo!
Crisp.
We are back after, it's been like 3 weeks now, huh? God, we suck.
Yeah, I blame you.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we're both to blame on that one. Do you want to tell them about the colossal fuck-up that we tried and failed on horribly?
Oh, yeah, we tried to do a video episode, and due to our noobish tendencies, we kind of screwed it up.
Yeah, we're definitely not Steven Spielberg and won't be anytime soon. We talked about it for a while, and we actually got together and did a rando knot in the middle of the night up in the mountains by my house, and it was so shitty, we just decided to spare you guys for now.
Yeah, it took us to, like, somebody's house, too.
Several houses.
Yeah.
We did, like, 3 different rando knots, and it's like, you're here.
What do you do at that point? Do you just, like, knock on their door and be like, hey, I'm rando knotting. I'm sorry. I just got to check out your house to make sure it's okay.
Says there's a body in here somewhere? Like, do I need to check your basement?
Could you imagine?
What's the anonymous tip?
People call the police on a couple because of a rando knot episode.
Yeah, see, it's funny until it actually turns out real. Can you imagine if we really did find a body that way?
I sense a new book series.
Oh, snap. Rando Knots of Death. Rando Naughty.
Is that like a poem?
I don't know. That went a whole different way than I intended it to go. But, yeah, so we apologize, guys. We've been the worst hosts. We've gone like the worst month to have all these issues because then last week, my family was exposed to COVID-19. And so while we were waiting for our tests to come back, I figured out it was probably better not come over here. Probably a good idea.
Yeah, don't get my cat sick.
I didn't want to infect Buddha. But our test came back negative, thankfully, so we did not have COVID-19. So we just stayed home and watched movies and were responsible about it. But then now we're good. So
you watch any good movies?
We watched a couple. I watched Leprechaun for the first time with Jennifer Aniston. That was horseshit.
Seen the movie Leprechaun, but I've never watched it.
Yeah, don't watch it. We went through like HBO Max and we're like finding all the older movies to watch. We watched Carnival of Souls. You've heard that one, right?
No.
It was filmed in Tooele at the Salt Palace.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, part of it was black and white. I think it was made in the 60s. It actually wasn't bad. Acting was horrible.
Were they eating a nice bowl of Jell-O?
No, I don't think
in
so.
The movie? Little Utah delicacy?
Oh, yeah. No, I didn't see any Jell-O, but there was dancing and Mormons. So, that basically summed up Utah.
Well, it's Mormons. I'm just kidding.
What's Mormons? What is this Mormon?
More mad.
What about you, though? Did you watch any scary movies?
Yes, I watched the Hellraiser. I think it was Judgment. It came out in 2018. I was a big fan of Hellraisers.
What's his name? Pinhead?
Yeah. I remember when I was a kid, I had cable, and they had like the on-demand like horror stuff. It was called something. I can't remember what it was
on-demand
called.
what?
Like horror section.
Horror section?
No,
section. I think they've got the other section too, but
it was called something. It still exists. They just anyways, but I was watching old scary movies, and I watched Hellraiser, the original one, the first time. I'm like, I like this. It's like Lovecraftian horror, kind of gory. First couple like Hellraisers were great, but then it just got really bad in the last like decade. Like, my God, they were horrible. But this one gets the cleat. So I'm gonna rank it out of 5 stars. Cleat's 5 stars. I'm gonna get 3 out of 5. It was acceptable. It got back to its roots, and it was okay.
See, again, I'm always shocked when you say that a movie's acceptable. I still to this day am curious as to what movie will get the 5-star Cleatorama. Because I want to know what movie deserves that honor, because you are so impossible to please, I feel like.
I remember the one Hellraiser I hated so bad because it had like the M. Night Shyamalan twist in it.
You hate M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah, I hate him. So anyways, it's like a Hellraiser movie, right? And he's like killing people, and at the end it was like, oh, but they're in a simulation in a coffin, and their dad's burying them, and
spoiler
they're alive.
alert.
It was really dumb. Don't watch it. I already ruined the ending. It's horrible.
All right, well, cool. Movie reviews from
What
Cleat.
a twist!
What a twist! Yeah, no, I didn't watch anything new. Well, I guess new to me, but nothing new. Just because we haven't really had anything new this year, thanks 2020. Speaking of new things, we do have, I read a new Texas Chainsaw Massacre coming out in 2021. They have like a new poster for it. I don't know. I like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies. They're pretty They're pretty okay.
It's like the Batman of like horror movies, though, right? They just keep making it every time.
I think that would fall under either Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street.
Okay, so maybe it's the Spider-Man. I'm kidding. It's about the same thing.
Oh, so they've recast it 800 times? Is that where you're going with this?
I'm sick of seeing the same plot. Why doesn't Hollywood make a new scary movie?
Because Hollywood's not original.
It's what made Sinister such a great film. It was so new. It was cutting edge. Like
Insidious
it was so
was good
unpredictable.
Too. Yeah. No, I agree. But speaking of all these horror movies, because I also came across something interesting. So they put science to the test to determine what the scariest movie ever is, and I mean ever.
But it was Courage the Cowardly Dog.
You're not far. I loved that cartoon.
I
loved Courage. It scared me a little bit as a kid. Stupid dog. Anyway, so yeah, they tested the resting heart rates of people, and they watched 100 movies or 100 hours of movies, excuse me. And I think they all watched the same thing. But yeah, they compiled a list of, I think, the top 50. But when all was said and done, so a list of 35 of the scariest movies. What would you guess, Clea? 100%. What's number one?
To this day, I think the scariest movie I ever watched was Sinister.
That's it. It was Sinister. 100%.
Oh, all right, fair enough.
That's what I say. I agree, because they said that the resting heart rate of 50 individuals, so normally it's 65 beats per minute. During Sinister, the range was 86 beats per minute.
What really, I think, makes a movie scary is something called anticipation. Because they show you that first video, and it's the transition from good to bad happens on each one. And then when you watch the second one, you just know what's going to happen. But it was just a really well-made film.
Right. No, I agree. And so Sinister was number one, and then they had, what was it? They had Insidious second, because it had the most jump scares, so people's heart rates kept going up a little bit. So that was the worst jump scare. But then to round out the top 10, we'll just go from there. They had The Conjuring at number 3. They had Hereditary at 4. Paranormal Activity at 5. It Follows, which is 6. The Conjuring 2 at 7. The Babadook at 8. The Descent at 9. And The Visit at 10.
Seen about half of those. Maybe I'll have to check them out.
I've seen them all.
That's so funny. I guess Sinister, though. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I was telling you several times. That's the one movie that made me feel like I left. I was like, oh, I don't know how I feel about
My favorite story about that is I was on a date, and it was just a girl I just met, and we went to the theater, and we're just like, all right, let's watch a movie.
That's a hell of a date.
We didn't pre-plan it. And I'm like, all right, let's watch this Sinister film.
Oh, boy.
I mean, that's like the best setup, because I didn't see any previews. I had no idea what I was walking into. Damn.
Dude, that opens up with one of the craziest scenes ever.
Yeah, I loved it.
Like, if you haven't seen haven't seen Sinister, watch it. I mean, you're in for some, like, it's just grungy. Like, the noises, the whole
music
movie
is
thing.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's so good. But yeah, so science has pointed out that Sinister is, in fact, the scariest movie that exists. So, there you go. But anyway, because we're so cool, we forgot to say what we're drinking tonight. It's a hazy IPA from
Dogfish.
From Dogfish Head. It's called American Beauty, and it's a hazy ripple IPA. It's actually pretty delicious. I enjoy it. Oh, speaking of beers, hey, because we haven't been here for 3 weeks, I feel like we have all this news. My mom bought me a home brewing kit for my birthday.
Hell yeah.
So I'm going to start brewing some beer here pretty quick.
I used to brew beer.
I'm pretty excited. I've never done it, but it looks like a really good kit. She went all out, so I'm pretty excited to try it. So maybe we'll have our own little craft beers here to try. But anyway, Cleet, what are we talking about tonight?
So we are doing the next edition of the most scariest urban legends by state.
Ooh, 5 more states coming up. This puts us at 20, so we're almost halfway done.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? It's funny because, like, most of the time there's not a lot of information on these. Like, I got so much. It was like too much data.
Usually I have to go with like 6 different websites and piece together enough information to talk about it. That was one of these ones, but it sounds like you got a lot. I was going through like YouTube and like other stories. I was like, I need to put something together.
Yeah, spoiler alert, a lot of goats.
A lot of goat people.
So what are the states?
So the states are Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maine, and Maryland.
Nice.
So we are taking quite the journey. So if you live in any of these states, I'm kind of curious to see if you've had any run-ins with these. But Clete, I think you're about to kick us off with Kansas first, yeah?
Cool. Let's run back to the cemetery.
Woo!
So we're going to talk about Stoll Cemetery. You guys, have you ever heard of it? Stoll
Cemetery.
Have you ever heard of it?
I have not.
So, interesting fact. The cemetery was shown on Supernatural. Little known show.
Did you ever watch Supernatural?
Yeah, dude, I loved it. It was great.
I haven't seen a single episode.
Yeah, the first 4 seasons were great, and then it's just crap. Or maybe 5.
Aren't there like 16 seasons? So that's a lot. That's crap.
It's so funny because I've always said to my friends that they should have ended after the apocalypse season. I just wanted them all to die, honestly. I thought that would have been the coolest ending.
It seems like that's the only way that you can really end a show anymore, because if you don't kill the characters, you get spin-offs,
it
you
just
get
drags
prequels,
out, and then you just see what you love.
It's all the kids.
A lot of resentment. It gets old. You end up hating it.
Speaking of which, we all this news. Did you ever watch Dexter on Showtime?
Yeah.
So they're doing another season. It's kind of like a makeup for the ending.
Nope.
They're doing a 10-episode redemption season, I guess, with the same cast, same crew. I think they realized it was shite, so they're going to come back and try and do it.
Still lost me. We'll watch it again.
Yeah, you will. You'll watch it. It's only 10 episodes. You can do it.
Nope. So the Supernatural episode was my favorite one, okay? Because what's going on is it's like the finale of finales, right? You got Michael, you got Sam that's possessed by the devil. They're going to fight. And then Dean and Castiel come out. And it's in Stoll Cemetery. It's really interesting. I thought it was so cool, and I found that information.
So your research, you just went back and watched that episode again, huh?
Yeah. Well, what's cool is
you're just going to tell us that whole episode. Well, what happens? We're going to set the stage
here.
Yeah,
as well. Anyways, so the devil and Sam is about to fight. What is it, Michael or whatever? I don't care. And then Dean pulls up in his car playing, Carry On, My Wayward Son by Kansas.
Oh, nice.
Which literally,
it's in, yeah.
And they're from Lawrence, which is by the cemetery.
Okay.
So they put a lot of thought in this. That whole show is actually built around actual folklore around the United States. So kind of makes sense.
So we're basically copying Supernatural. Cool.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah, it's a good show anyways.
Maybe I'll have to check it out because, we sit at home all the time now. Can't go anywhere, so.
Just watch the first 5 seasons.
And then just not the rest of the 15 or whatever there
are. Already kind of talked about it, but Stoll Cemetery is outside Kansas in a small unincorporated community around 17 miles east of Topeka. Stoll was settled by Pennsylvania Dutch settlers in 1856 and was originally named Deer Creek. When the first post office came to the town, it was renamed for Postmaster Sylvester Stoll.
I still think that postmaster is like one of the most...
Just so cool.
It's like one of the most badass job titles. I'm the postmaster.
Yeah, and like they named a town after him. My God.
Like anything with master in the title, like you've made it in life.
Yeah. It's really strange because this town is described as almost vacant. It's a very small town, but there's so many dark rumors associated with it.
Okay.
Weird. It all starts with a story of the town mayor being stabbed to death by a barn.
By a barn? Someone picked up a barn and stabbed him to death.
Okay, yeah. So, in a barn by one of the stable hands in 1850.
I was going to say, this is a hell of a story. Someone stabbed me with a whole barn. I'm in.
It just explodes.
You're not surviving that.
Another story tells about a farmer in the early 1900s who burned out some of his fields to clear land and later found the body of his son in the fields accidentally burnt.
Oh, God damn.
During the controlled blaze, which really sad.
Couldn't live with yourself after that, really.
Other rumors had floated around of people taking their own lives in public spaces, leaving the bodies behind to later be found by passerbys. So just people committing suicide, like at the town hall, maybe the post office. It's just this weird suicide cult.
They're just shipping bodies around. The town's just full of dead bodies.
There's some type of suicide cult, officer.
Oh, that's another good movie. Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
That probably would get a 5 on my scale.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, that deserves a 5.
So some people think these alleged tragedies early in the town history kind of brought a dark force to it, kind of instilled not so great forces to start coming to the town. Spoiler alert, like Satan with all his hooves.
Here comes Satan.
Yeah.
That devil went down to Georgia. Not Kansas.
All right, so Stoll Cemetery has been around for quite a while. Some of the oldest graves have been there since 1850. Yeah, pretty long. A few different accounts of how the supernatural rumor started was a University of Kansas professor started to talk about stories about the cemetery being haunted. In 1974, a student at the University of Kansas published an article about a cemetery in the school's newspaper saying that the cemetery was one of the 7 gateways to hell, and was visited by none other than Satan himself twice a year. Because why stop once?
Once on Valentine's, once on Christmas.
It's just like, how do you know that it's like a gateway to hell? Like, how do you know that?
Well, there's one of 7. We've already talked about like 5. I feel like there's one in almost every state.
Apparently, my God, there's probably 50. But if you're curious, he visits on Halloween, obviously.
Okay.
And the first day of spring.
Oh.
Otherwise known as a spring equinox.
This is beautiful. You got to see. I think it's also a hidden rumor. I feel like it's also a rumor that every cemetery has to be haunted. Is it really weird to say it's a haunted cemetery?
Why can't it just be haunted, though? Why has it got to be like a gateway to hell? It's a little extreme in my opinion.
Yeah, but it makes it, right? I mean, you can't just say it's haunted. And it's like, yeah, everything's haunted, but it is a gateway to hell. It's one of the 7.
Yeah, only 7. In Kansas, if you believe it. After the article was published, a lot of people read it, and they would come to the cemetery during these times. First year, 150 people showed up. They're just sitting outside the cemetery, maybe roaming around, I don't know, trying to find the devil.
Yeah. They're there on the first day of spring.
Yeah.
Hang on, little Johnny. Satan will be here anytime soon.
Well, it just kept growing, right? Like 10 years later, in 1988, a crowd of 500 people gathered.
Jesus.
It's like a small town. Like, come see the devil. They probably had like people walking like through the cemetery with like popcorn.
They're tailgating.
Yeah,
we're going to be here soon.
And it's funny because the people that own the cemetery like were getting pissed because these people would just like leave a bunch of garbage there.
Yeah.
Probably some empty beer cans, liquor bottles, the works.
Just start charging for parking. You'll be all right.
One of the biggest like buildings there that is said where the devil actually ascended from hell was this old church. It was built in the 1850s. The church itself, they don't know when it was decommissioned, but there was a staircase that goes down into the basement, and that's where the devil is said to like walk up the stairs. Another thing about the church is the roof was blown off one night by the wind, which actually happened in another one of our episodes with a building, which is interesting. And what they say is if you stand in that building when it's raining, the water droplets won't hit you, which is, it's kind of creepy, but I don't believe it.
I feel like we'd have to test this theory.
I know. And I love it because it's like a small town because I feel like people are always like trying to one-up each other, Another person says that if you put like a crucifix in the church at midnight, it'll turn upside down. It's just like people trying to one-up each other. Like, oh, well, I know this. And again, this is probably like the biggest like one-upper here. Another legend says that if you take 2 glass bottles, because you're probably drinking if you're there, and you hold them in the shape of an inverted cross and throw them at the wall, and they don't break, you're going to go to heaven.
Okay,
but if they do break, you're going to go to hell. I mean, how do you verify that? That's stupid.
So just use Crown Royal bottles because those things are indestructible.
They
literally will not break.
That's an easy way to heaven, people. Remember that.
Just go throw your Crown Royal bottles.
You can either join a religion, you repent your ass off, or you just do that.
Yeah,
a little shortcut. Yeah. So let's go back to Satan, okay? So Stoll Cemetery is a reported final resting place of Satan's child, right?
Oh.
Reverse Jesus. Yeah. So his lady lover, was said to consummate with him. And apparently she was also a werewolf. Again, small towns like to one-up each other. I mean, this is a little over the top. Apparently the child was deformed and only lived a few days. And when he died, he was buried in the cemetery. And presumably his mother was buried there as well. And that's why the devil comes up the stairs every 2 days to say his graces.
Oh, so his dad was Satan, his mom's a werewolf.
Well, maybe they went to heavens.
Can't get there.
Yeah.
Of course the son's deformed.
The cemetery is also rumored to be a hotspot for witches and occultists, because why not? And there's a so-called hanging tree where the old town back in the day would hang witches. The tree itself kind of like grows over a gravestone. And what happened in 1965 is the tree fell on another set of headstones and split them in half, apparently. I guess it was like a big headstone for like a couple. I don't know. And people just automatically assume they must have been like into witchcraft before their deaths, and that's why the tree fell on it. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like a natural thing. It's not weather. No, they're witches.
One other thing that I found on here is people always report that when they visit the cemetery, there's a bunch of chunks of missing times that they have. Again, maybe if you're going to the cemetery at night, doing a little bit of witch hunting, I don't know, looking for Satan, you might be a little drunk.
Maybe.
Maybe you missed some time. It's weird. I blacked out. I woke up, in the morning. I had a splitting headache, and I got up in my car.
You're covered in blood.
It was horrible.
You have KFC in your lap still.
So we talked about celebrities visiting the cemetery. So apparently, a few celebrities have visited it. In particular,
was it Vin Diesel?
No.
Oh,
I'm Vince Diesel.
Vince
visiting this place with my car. Just driving his car
Drove
through
my
it.
car through it.
I'm Vin Diesel.
Fast and the Furious 27.
My final resting place.
Or is it? They'll keep that thing going for like 60, I swear to God.
Damn it. So apparently in 2013, Ariana Grande visited the cemetery.
Out of all the people.
I don't know who she is.
You don't know who Ariana Grande is?
No, and I refused to look her up, too.
She's like a Disney star who turned like pop singer, and she's like...
I've heard her name, but I refused to learn celebrities. Apparently, she claimed that when she went there, I guess it was maybe before her concert or maybe after, maybe she was visiting. I didn't really look. But she claimed to smell sulfur and hear strange whisperings. And a couple weeks after she left, she began seeing a strange black matter at night.
I think she just stumbled across a hobo who pooped himself behind a gravestone.
Nothing beats the hobo life. Stabbing people with the hobo knife. There you go. Another story says Kurt Cobain visited in 1992, but there is no more there's no more information about like what happened. But if I were to speculate, he got an itch on the top of his mouth that he could not scratch away.
Really? You had to go there, huh? Only a shotgun could cure that, huh?
Didn't say that.
Yeah, well, you implied it heavily.
I'm going to edit that.
There's a heavy implication. This is a family show.
There's also a story of Pope John Paul was flying over the cemetery, had to reroute his plane because he was afraid to fly over the cemetery.
Does that count as visiting it, though, if you fly over it? I visited the cemetery from 60,000 feet.
Well, it speaks to the power of the cemetery, although it's probably not true.
Yeah, I doubt it.
But that is the story of Stoll Cemetery in Kansas.
Should go check it out. I want to go stand in that church in a rainstorm and just stay completely dry.
Carry on, my wayward son.
All right, well, we're going to jump into Kentucky, and we're going to talk about one of the two goat people tonight. Shall we? Let's do it. So this is the goat man of Pope Lick. Lickin' Popes. The origins of this urban legend really differ. I mean, I think every urban legend differs depending on who you talk to and, where you go. But the story itself really remains the same. So it's said that a hideous creature hides under the bridge at Pope Lick Creek in Louisville, Kentucky. This bridge is still to this day an active railroad trestle. He's described as having dark fur and pale skin. It has strong, muscly goat legs and big horns. So basically, a humanoid goat monster.
Sounds scary and original.
Yeah, very original. We've already got, you have another one coming up, so it's super original. Now, just like the physical descriptions of the beast, the methods that he uses to draw those near to him are also similar among those who tell the tale. Supposedly, he will draw victims to their deaths via hypnosis or by mimicking voices. What is it with those humanoids mimicking voices?
Yeah, dude, that seems to be a common theme. The hypnosis is new. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, like he'll hypnose you. That's stupid.
He'll hit you in the nose?
He'll hypnose you? He'll hypnotize, or it'll hypnotize you and basically cause you to fall to your death.
So he doesn't hit you in the hip or the nose. He hypnotizes. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So he's very sly and will resort to any trickery possible to lure people to him. He will mimic the cries of children reaching out for help. I don't care who you are. You hear a child crying for help, you're going to go help them.
That's been a common theme.
It has been.
On our episode.
The kids are the most vulnerable, so you mimic them asking for help. Unless you're an asshole, you're like, no. But the thing is, though, is after all these episodes, I feel like if I'm out in the wild and I hear a child screaming for help, I'm thinking, like, this is a humanoid. After all the shit I've covered.
But that's why we have guns, Britain. In America, we have guns.
That's true. We can shoot whatever's coming after us. The locals of Kentucky warn of the location and deter those who try to climb up to the tracks, because once you're up there, it's difficult to avoid oncoming trains because, again, it's still an active railroad trestle. So people climb up all the time.
Yikes.
And they can't get out of the way. There's been several deaths on this bridge from trains and from people falling to their deaths. So not only is it a scary urban legend, but people are actually dying trying to get up there and view this.
That's like a crazy game of chicken. You're like, I'm going to try to run across the bridge before a train comes.
Yeah, it's very
smart. If you see the train, you're too far in, you're done.
You're done. That's it. Unfortunately, like I said, there's been a number of deaths and accidents throughout the years from those wandering onto the bridge in search of the goat man. I mean, but the thing is, though, you go find a goat man, you find a train. What's better to find? Do you actually want to see the goat
What's
man?
more likely to kill you, a train or goat man?
I don't know. It depends on how big this goat man is. Maybe the train is called Goat Man.
Damn you, Pacific Union.
Damn. In 2016, an Ohio woman fell to her death from the bridge while looking for the monster.
That'd be like the worst way to go.
Yeah.
You know, like you're sitting in heaven with a group of people. You got like Van Gogh. He's like, I cut off my ear and I just couldn't handle living in, this world. It was just too much for me.
Kurt Cobain had an itch.
Kurt Cobain had an itch ever since seeing The Cemetery. And you're just like, I was looking for a goat man and I fell off a bridge.
Or were they hypnotized off the bridge? You never know. Yeah, but there's been a lot of deaths, and again, like they haven't closed it off because the railroads still use it, so they can't just close it and say you can't. But like they strongly caution people to stay away from it.
I wonder if they have like barriers like to it, but I'm sure there's like so much track.
Yeah.
And no matter what, you're gonna get up there.
People are gonna find a way, man. That's the thing.
Well, it's like the catacombs.
Yeah.
They try to like hold people out of there.
I want to go to the catacombs so bad.
It's so illegal, but you do tours, but like. It's so widespread, like you can find a place to get there,
Yeah, easily. Okay, so we're going to talk about a few of the rumored origins from this monster, because obviously it has to come from somewhere, right? So the first story talks about a farmer long ago who tortured a herd of goats as a sacrifice to Satan himself. He wanted to pull him from Stoll Cemetery as a sacrifice to Kentucky. This farmer is also said to have signed a contract with the devil that turned him into this beast. He was sent to live under the bridge for eternity where he would seek revenge on those who came near. So he sacrificed all these goats, and then Satan said, well, you're going to become a goat, and you're going to seek revenge. Revenge for what? I don't know, but just go live under the bridge for the rest of your life. The other popular legend tells of an old circus train that passed through and derailed, spilling the creature from one of the train cars, forever to be hidden under the bridge. What's more likely, though? Is it a farmer sacrificing all of his goats to Satan or a circus train?
I like the circus train a little bit.
I do too.
Little trapeze people falling out.
It's like, whoa! And the goat man falls out, and then he's just stuck
do
there.
a flip, but perfectly land.
He's like, whoa, what's going on? This is my new home now. A local filmmaker by the name of Rod Skildnicht made a movie of the monster in the 80s. I have no idea what it's called, nor do I really want to go find it. Others have come to the location to make documentaries in hopes of catching the goat man on film, but we don't have any film evidence of this goat man. There's also rumors of the Kentucky Bigfoot, and some believe that they are one and the same thing. However, descriptions vary slightly, and most believe they are completely different beings. So, Kentucky essentially has two monsters running around. It's got a big Bigfoot and a goat man. That's a hell of a fight. I don't want to watch a boxing match. It's the goat man versus Bigfoot.
I'd pay for that.
Another fun fact, the Pope Lick Monster has his own Facebook page. And, I took the liberty of following him, so we were following him on Enter the Abyss, the podcast. Although no recent activity since 2016, so...
I guess he's a cryptid again.
He might have fled town, man. He hopped back on the circus train, came back to pick him up, and he's out of here. So, anyway, there's really not much we could find about it, but apparently if you go to Kentucky and you find the bridge, just be careful. There are trains that go through, but if you do get lucky enough and snap a picture of this goat man, go ahead and send it to us, because we'll post it. All right, where are we going next, Cleet?
So we're going to jump into Louisiana.
Dude, I want to visit Louisiana so bad.
I bet they got good food there. I always hear that. They
got
seafood.
Music.
Yeah.
Parties.
They got good culture there.
Not in COVID, though. I'm sure they're not doing anything.
I'd still go. I don't care. I'd have to,
less
cancel
people.
the podcast for a little bit. So this one's about someone named Saint Germain.
I thought you were about to say this is about someone named Satan.
Oh, no.
I was like, how much Satan are we going to talk about?
I know, my God. How many Satans are there?
Multiple Satans.
This is a rabbit hole, man, and there's so much information. Like I could probably do an entire episode on this legend because it transcends Louisiana itself.
Ooh.
But I'm gonna do kind of just a little bit of play-by-plays that build up to Louisiana.
Okay.
So I've never heard of this person, never have, but it's an interesting story. So there's always been rumors about a man named Saint Germain, and he was said to be born in the 1600s or maybe really early 1700s. But there's been reports throughout time and history of a well-known man that is very similar looking and has like similar traits. And people have traced this person all the way back to Christ.
Oh,
yeah.
damn.
There's such documented cases of famous figures talking about this person. Casanova, Voltaire, King Louis XV. They all talk about this very intelligent man named Saint Germain. And this is like through like spans of history that can't just be one person.
I was going to say, that's a very long time, and I've not heard of the Saint Germain.
Neither have I.
I'll be honest with you.
So have you ever heard the term, though, called Philosopher's Stone? You ever heard of that?
I think so.
So it was basically a goal in alchemy to make this thing that could give you immortality. Like there was two goals in alchemy. There was like turning lead into gold, and then there was the other thing about getting immortality somehow. Okay. And it is said that somehow Saint Germain discovered to live forever.
I wouldn't want to live forever.
You know, it would kind of suck when the sun expands and you just like burn to death. Like, I guess, would you just burn forever?
I was thinking more of like, watching my children grow up and die and all those I love die.
I mean, it would be horrific at a point when the sun expands.
You're like, when the whole world ends, I'm like, I'm talking about family.
You got to play the long game.
Yeah, all right. I see where your priorities are, the sun.
So what people would say about Germain is he had a vast knowledge in the sciences, history, and spoke many languages.
Okay.
We're not talking about 1 or 2 languages. This guy spoke like 8 or 9 languages. He had quite the dialect.
He was very bilingual.
In 1710, Germain was spotted by an old friend. I mean, this person was like in their 70s, okay? They knew him about 50 years ago, noticed that, like, I know this guy. His name's Germain, and he looks like the same Germain I knew 50 years ago.
You haven't aged a bit, son.
So this person goes up to him and goes, I know you. You haven't aged. So the guy didn't deny that he was Germain. In fact, he told his friend that he was indeed over 100 years old.
Ooh.
Like, it just seems like a weird response,
Right. I am Germain, and I am over 100 years old.
You look like my old friend Britain. I'm like, yeah.
I am Britain.
I'm over 100 years old.
I'm over 100 years old today. You look like shit. You're going to die soon. The sun's expanding, Cleet.
It's going to get hot. It's going to get real hot.
It's going to get real hot here soon.
So 40 years go by, and Germain is said to have been seen and traveled through Europe, never aging, continuously entertaining the elite of Europe with his abilities, like his genius with the violin, his painting skills, and his deep wallets or knowledge in medicine.
Sounds like a goddamn show-off. He's
Yeah.
like, I can live forever. I can paint. I can play music.
Well, if you
Look
live
how
that long,
rich I am.
You're going to get good at stuff.
Jesus
Like,
Christ.
you know what? For the next 30 years, I'm going to play the fucking violin.
Oh, pompous douchebag.
I'm going to start filming episodes, or I'm going to start making movies with crazy twists, even if it ruins the movies.
You have such a vendetta against M. Night
I
Shyamalan.
hate him.
It's hilarious.
Whenever people encounter this Germain character, they would always notice that he'd be at parties, people would be eating, but no one ever saw him eat. They only saw him drink wine.
Oh, that's the cure.
Yeah.
Everyone, if you want to live forever, you just drink wine. Wine is good.
Well, okay. So this is where we go to Louisiana, okay? A man moves to Louisiana, okay? He moves into a mansion. He's got a lot of money. He says he's a descendant from Germain's bloodline. He immediately throws a party and invites all the elite of New Orleans. The party was lavish and had expensive catered menu. Yet, the elitists noticed he did not eat. He only was seen drinking wine. They are creeped out by him.
He's a fucking vampire, isn't he?
Maybe. He never fit in, and but people still described him as like a master of science and the arts. Like, he was a smart guy. He just never fit in. And they're like, he's always partying. He's always like going out. He's a man of the night.
So, hey, do you want a drink? No, I want to drink this wine.
I want to drink the wine.
I am not hungry, thank you.
Leave me alone while I play the violin.
Look how rich I am. I cannot die.
Compound interest is great. If you live forever, that'd be a great wealth.
At that point in time, a 30-year mortgage seems like not a big deal. Now I'm like, God damn, I'm going to be like 50.
Yeah. Things kind of die down for a little bit, but, he gets police attention. One night, he picks up a woman from the pub, a lady of the night, so to speak, maybe, and he took her back to the house. As the story goes, she was looking at some fine art on his fireplace when Germain came out of nowhere with alarming speed and strength, and he pressed her against the fireplace.
Oh, God, I don't want to know where this goes next.
She began fighting back, but he started to bite her viciously.
Some people are into some weird stuff, man.
Right before she thought she was about to be killed, the exact moment, one of his rowdy party friends started banging on the door, being like, "Hey, Jermaine, come out here for a drink. Come drink with me, Jermaine. This is going to be fun." He's like rattling the door. Maybe he doesn't know if it's locked or not, so he's like panicking, right?
His rowdy party friend. That's great.
And this distraction lasts long enough for the woman to break free of his grasp. Through a moment of adrenaline, she throws herself through a second-story window over the balcony that surrounds the property. She lands on the ground, resulting in broken legs.
Oh.
Isn't that nasty?
Both of them?
Yeah.
Well, it's like a horror movie where the bones come popping out. Like, Cleet loves the gore in movies, folks.
Yeah.
It's his favorite.
Apparently, police just happened to be driving by at the time, and they're like, "Whoa, some chick's yelling on the ground just full of blood, and there's bones sticking out. We got to take her to the hospital, right?" They take her there, and, they start questioning her about what happened. And she's, like, telling them the story. So, like, what the fuck, right? So they go to Jermaine. They go to Jermaine, and they're like, "Hey, this chick's in the hospital. She's saying some incriminating shit. You need to come to our station the next morning," which is weird that they didn't just, like, arrest him on the spot.
Right.
It seems like there's, like, enough evidence there.
Hey, we'll see you tomorrow morning, right,
yeah.
Jermaine?
You'd be arrested, but we'll just figure it out tomorrow.
Do you take sugar with your coffee?
Why are you drinking so much wine? He never arrives.
Oh, shocker.
Yeah.
Weird.
Police bust open his house and find it abandoned. It was described that there was not one bit of food in the house. No utensils, but they did find a large wine rack full of wine bottles.
Hang on. The wine is blood.
Well, police open up the wine bottles and they taste it, and they felt, or they thought, they didn't really, they don't have like accurate testing back then, but they described it as wine with a mixture of blood.
Oh.
Jermaine was never found, but people speculate because of this rumor, this story of long ago, that their murder rate in New Orleans is actually pretty high, and they attribute it to Jermaine or others in his ilk of vampires killing people in the night.
So their murder rate is still high.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't know that.
That's it.
That was cool. It was a vampire all along.
All right.
Anyway, that was pretty good. We're going to go take a virtual trip to Maine, another place I really want to visit. In fact, we were really close, my wife and I, going to Maine. I haven't been anywhere on the East Coast.
Neither have I. I want to.
I've been as far west as Hawaii, but I want to go east.
I went to Iowa once.
Okay, so Maine is the mysterious stain on Colonel Jonathan Buck's tomb. So we're going to another cemetery. It's actually kind of crazy. So when I first read like a stain on a tomb, I was like, really? Like, this is what they're known for? But the story is actually pretty intense. So Jonathan Buck, who was one of the founders of Bucksport, or Buckstown, during his living years, died on March 18th, 1975. His grandchildren created a monument for him in 1852 near his gravesite, and not long after, a weird image or stain appeared.
That would be frustrating.
It's scary, right? Yeah, so they erect this thing, and then all of a sudden this big old stain comes.
Perhaps some bleach could fix the situation.
No, man, they've tried to get this thing removed. The stain resembles the form of a woman's leg and foot. What would you assume, Cleet? Let's hear your thoughts. That's a woman's leg and foot.
Oh.
Stained on the memorial.
Someone's really pulling my leg through the afterlife.
That's a real knee slapper, Cleet.
More like a leg slapper.
Oh,
maybe a
look,
foot
you're
slapper.
Still going. I know it sounds like a random image to have just appear on a grave, but there's a story behind it that's going to make a little bit more sense. The origin of this story tells of a woman being burned at the stake for witchcraft, to which Colonel Jonathan Buck condemned her to death. While the woman was being burned alive, she placed a curse on Buck that would remain forever. Apparently, her leg then fell off and rolled out of the fire. So it's a witch's leg just fell off while she's burning.
Maybe we do live in a simulation.
Yeah, that's a lot of people are thinking that now. It's like and I guess science says there's a 50-50 chance.
I don't believe that, but like,
oh, I don't know, man. I mean, after this year, I don't know. Anything's possible. Literally, I don't even know anymore.
Cleet 2024.
Do it. I'll vote for you, Cleet.
I won't be old enough. No, I will. Holy shit.
You have to be a certain age.
35. Yeah,
you have to be a 35.
President.
That's it. Weird.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Anyway, go ahead and vote, people.
For Cleet Pearson.
Cleet Pearson, 2024.
No, take out my last name. Vote for Cleet. They'll know.
Cleet
Cleet from Utah.
Cleet for Utah. The New England magazine published a story in 1902 that tells of this incident and reads as follows. All was ready and the hangman about to perform his gruesome duty. Then, when the woman turned to Colonel Buck and raised one hand to heaven as if to direct her last words on earth, pronounced this astounding prophecy. Jonathan Buck, listen to these words. The last my tongue shall utter. It is the spirit of the only true and living God which bids me speak them to you. You will soon die. Over your grave they will erect a stone, that all may know where the bones of the mighty Jonathan Buck are crumbling to dust. But listen, listen, all ye people. Tell it to your children and your children's children. Upon that stone will appear the imprint of my foot. And for all time long, long after your accursed race has perished from the earth, the people will come far and near, and the unborn generations will say, there lies the man who murdered a woman. Remember well, Jonathan Buck. Remember well.
You know, if you're on like death row back in the day, you might as well like make a killer like exit speech.
That was
you
an
know?
exit speech.
It's like, hey, you know, the movie's ending. You gotta say something pretty cool when the lights go off.
I think you always have to have a catchphrase when you're over, right? It's like the cheesy, like
Diet Pepsi.
What was the hobo with the shotgun?
Oh
one?
God, I love that.
I'm riding shotgun.
Yeah, you and me are in a car ride to hell. And I'm riding shotgun.
Like you have to have a saying. You can't just go out. It's
That's
like
the best movie.
you're about to die. You're like, all right, bye.
Yeah, right
That's
there.
it.
5 out of 5. Hobo with a shotgun.
All right. I'm learning more about you every day, Cleet. This article was said to have been written by a bored newspaper reporter and has been disputed since its publishing, but still, it's pretty intense. Imagine being a bored Can you imagine being a bored publisher and you're like, yeah, I'm just going to write this and just make up a bunch of crazy nonsense? Another story tells that when her leg falls out of the fire, her deformed son, who has been outcast from the townspeople, picks up her leg and runs into the wilderness. So this is Maine's urban legend, Cleet.
I have no comment on the leg.
I can tell you have
I
something.
don't know what to say. I really don't. I just imagine someone running away with a leg.
If your mom's leg fell
No,
off
it's
in a
really
fire,
sad.
you're gonna pick it up and run away?
Yeah, but you just let it go.
Let it go. This whole legend has been disputed, seeing as that the witch trials were concluded before Buck was even born, and there are no records of any taking place in Maine at all. Ed Buck, who is a great-great-grandson, stated that Jonathan also had no authority to sentence anyone to death, so it's really far-fetched from every angle. So, you know, people are just making up stories about this stain, saying it's just a crazy lady's leg who fell off being burned at the stake.
I respect that.
Facts surrounding Colonel Buck's life state that he was an honorable man who helped found the community in building the first few mills and boat. The witch's curse wasn't even mentioned before the stain appeared on the monument. So people literally just said, oh, it looks like a woman's leg. Let's build this crazy story around it.
I believe the rumors.
Do you?
Yes.
All right. Well, theories suggest that the stain is simply a flaw in the granite, but that doesn't stop countless people from visiting the monument to examine it themselves. Guess we just got to go take a trip to Maine and see if it really is a burned woman's leg or just the granite being stupid.
I'm going to bring some Clorox wipes. I'll clean it up.
If you can find any. It is 2020 after all.
I know I can't. All right. Good story.
That's it, man.
Wow.
That's Maine for you.
Okay.
So we're going to round it out with Maryland, and I'm guessing this is where the second goat man comes in.
Yep, let's talk about the Maryland Goat Man.
I wonder if he's in the same family. I wonder if the circus train went through Maryland after.
Let's get my movie voice. Deep in the forests of Maryland, there is said to exist a creature so terrifying and violent that its name is still used today to scare young children and adults alike. One thing is for certain, a lot of people get uncomfortable when driving down Fletcher Road.
This summer, starring Vin Diesel.
2021. So the first mention of the Goat Man may have been whispered between the locals as early as 1960. It was first mentioned in media during the 1970s in the local Prince George County newspaper. The article describes some old folklore that was known in the area by generations past, including the Goatman himself, but also other creatures, such as the Bowman.
The Bowman?
Yeah.
The guy with a bow?
Either that or a snake, I'm not sure. But also, nestled between these woods with these two creatures were said to be ghosts and spirits.
Man, they've got an amalgamation of creatures going on in Maryland.
Their fucking forests are haunted. But, they would just cause distress upon those foolish enough to be found there at night. 2 weeks later, the same newspaper printed an article about a family with the last name Edwards who had just lost their dog named Ginger.
Was it a redhead?
Probably, actually. That would make sense. The dog was found on the side of Fletchertown Road with its head savagely torn off.
Why
not funny.
Then why are you laughing? I think it's just
I just like the adjective
savagely torn off. Like, yeah. I mean, what's the difference? You look at a dog with a head missing, and you're like, well, was it torn off or was it savagely torn off?
Like being cut off, you could tell, right? Like there's incisions, it's clean. But if it's savagely, like you can tell it was torn off, right?
No.
Someone tore off its head. It would become one of the first modern incidents that would become associated with the Goat Man, especially because the Edwards' 16-year-old daughter and her friends claimed to see a large creature near their home the same night their dog went missing.
See, I don't like this Goat Man. At least when I talked about, didn't rip puppies in half.
Dude, this guy's actually pretty badass. I'll go
badass.
He's
ripping dogs in half. You monster.
No. Like there's other things on here. He's like heavy metal. Pretty soon there was a string of reports of the obscure-looking animal that walks on two legs, all of which were seen along Fletchertown Road. Dude, fucking stay away from that road.
Fletchertown Road.
The Goat Man would soon find a much larger audience to scare when the Washington Post posted the article of the 3 people that found the dead dog on the side of the road. This article would make the Goat Man
angry.
National attention, cementing itself amongst cryptids like the Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster. In fact, some have even cited the Goat Man as being the Maryland Bigfoot.
Oh my God.
It's like the same thing.
It's like the same exact thing.
It's irritating. In a sense, the creature is both staggering to comprehend and yet totally elusive.
I wonder if it's just the one Bigfoot that's just been eluding people forever. He's just traveling from town to town.
Yeah, maybe he's just
like,
one guy.
It's a Goat Man. He's like, I'm a fucking Bigfoot.
Maybe he's a Louisiana guy who got the Philosopher's Stone to live forever, but he can't cut his hair.
Oh.
Yeah.
And people keep thinking he's a goat because he's fuzzy.
Reason.
He's like, I'm not a fucking goat.
I'm not a goat. I'm going to rip your dog's head off.
All right. Savagely.
So, but what is the Goat Man? Where did it come from? And what does he want?
I'm guessing he's a farmer who sacrificed all of his goats to Satan.
Oh, God damn it.
No, it's a circus train that derailed.
All right.
And these states are original.
I know, right? So, accounts describe the Goat Man as being a creature that stands over 6 feet tall. The creature is literally half man, half goat.
What?
Half man, bear, pig. I'm kidding about the last part. He said he is pious and sometimes foul-smelling, and in some counts has a high-pitched squeal. Could you imagine that, like, chasing you, though? It's like, ah! Like, I would run. I would be terrified.
It's like a pig squeal?
Yeah.
I don't think you're wrong with the man-bear pig. It's like,
I'd be, like, pushing a friend over and running. You know, because it'll get your friend, but not you.
You don't have to outrun the thing. You just have to outrun the slowest
person. You got to push
person.
your friend over. Maybe, like, break his ankle.
I'm not going to go anywhere with you where there's shit going down.
He's also said
that. You trip me, I'll fucking haunt you to the day you die, bitch. Don't even think about it.
The Goat Man has black horns, unkempt hair, and large claw-like hands.
Oh, I really wish that he was like professionally groomed all the time. With just locks of flowing.
He has like a suit on. He has 4 legs.
So he's smoking a cigar.
Instead of having a high-pitched squeal, he's like, "Wow, what are you doing?"
What the fuck was that?
I don't know. All right. On other accounts, he is seen by other accounts, he is seen with his trusty axe cradled in his arms. And for some reason, I don't know why, this reminds me of the 100-Step Cemetery with the Undertaker.
Yeah.
I just imagine like this goat guy with a giant axe and the Undertaker just going.
No, he doesn't do that because he's got a high-pitched squeal.
Yeah.
So he's running with his axe like, I'm gonna get you.
Yeah, it could be like a transition though. From like the Undertaker.
I don't think so.
It'd be a pretty cool band. The Undertaker and the Goat Man.
With his trusty axe.
So there are still many variations of the Goat Man of Maryland, which are passed down from generation to generation. Some people say it changes, but others say it stays pretty consistent. Some of the more consistent themes is the Goat Man chases children or teenagers. Apparently he just really hates them for some reason. Some
doesn't?
people think it's like a cautionary tale, but others think it's more concrete. Like he's a real like fucking fiend.
He really hates kids and dogs.
All right,
Because he will savagely rip your head off.
you ready for the origin story?
Let's do it. I'm going to guess. I guess we've already talked about it a little bit, but let's hear your twist on it, man.
As the story goes, the Goat Man was once a lonely old herder who kept to himself. However, one night, a group of unruly teenagers found his goats unattended and killed his herd. When the Goat Man found the bodies of his beloved goats, he went insane with rage. The sight of the goats' blood angered him so much that he actually affected his physiology, turning him into the Goat Man.
Well, at least he was sad about his goats.
That's theory one. Here's theory two. Others believe he was turned to satanic rituals to get back at the teenagers, and to overcome his grief. And that ironic thing that happened, almost like M. Night Shyamalan, he turned into a hybrid goat himself, half man, half creature, still hating teenagers in particular, and he just wants to exact revenge on those people for killing his goats.
Starring Vin Diesel. I really think we need to make this happen. It's like Fast and the Furious versus the Goat Man.
Yeah. So teenagers across Maryland are like saying that they see this guy all the time. So a lot of them like go on like Goat Man hunts and things like that. Another place the Goat Man has really been seen a lot. There's a place on Fletcher Town that like goes up to like a little secluded place. It's kind of like a lover's lane because of course this thing has everything, right? So there's stories of the Goat Man while, people are up there just kind of talking in the car.
That's not what they're
getting
doing,
to know each other,
Clete.
maybe a couple of handshakes.
Oh, no. Why did they always die during the deed?
It's always this. When all of a sudden a Goat Man will jump on their car with a giant axe, just going,
No, he's going, Eee!
And, this is obviously happening when they're in the back seat shaking hands. And
talking about their day, playing Jenga.
And what they say is the Goat Man will rip off the top of the car because he has inhuman strength. And he just starts hacking away at the car while the victims like try to run away or they die. Pretty cool stuff.
Okay.
In one of the more bizarre tales of the Goat Man, he is said to be... So the last origin story of the Goat Man, it's one of the more bizarre ones, but it's kind of funny at the end of the day, is... the townsfolk were saying it was a result of a terrible experiment gone wrong by the Beltsville Research Agricultural Center.
Oh.
So this became so widespread and so like believed amongst locals that the research center actually came out to officially deny the allegations.
Oh my God. This is not a thing,
We
folks.
have never tested on goats. We did not make a Goat Man. This has never happened.
This is like a man and a goat went up to Lover's Lane, and this is the result?
Yeah. Oh.
Was it like a lumberjack and a goat?
You're getting some weird territory, man.
Not that
Might be
weird.
a small
What?
Might be a small town, but they're not freaks. All right. Well, that's the story of the Goat Man.
The Goat Man #2
Of Maryland.
of
The original.
Oh, wow. Well, if it's not hell portals, it's goat people or
Or cemeteries.
cemeteries. And
Or
so a lot of
fucking
these
vampire. I don't know.
urban legends have a lot of the same things. But hey, we're down to 20. Well, we've done 20. We have plenty more to go. So next time will be sometime in November. We'll get the we'll get the halfway point. But it's pretty exciting stuff. I didn't expect us to have 2 goat men in one session, though.
Yeah. It was interesting. Well, again, keep looking forward to our Reddit episodes. We'll do a couple other things.
But anyway, again, we really do sincerely apologize about the break. It's been kind of a crazy, it's been a crazy year, but we were really, really excited for October for various reasons. Obviously it's the spooky month of the entire year. If you're listening to this on the day we release it, happy Halloween. I know that it was yesterday.
This will be our Halloween episode.
Yeah, it will be our Halloween episode. We wanted to do like early special Halloween stuff, but it's just so hard to get together and do all that stuff. But I promise you guys, we will get a little bit more of a consistency going, and we'll kind of do our video as that time comes. But it was such a bad fail. We tried, and it just wasn't anything that we were comfortable releasing. But we'll continue to do it.
Yeah. And keep sending suggestions to entertheabysspod@gmail.com. again, the best way to get this podcast out there is to like, share, and subscribe. As always, thank you for entering the abyss.
Until next week.